You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to another evening here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main radio website, where you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, as well as the show Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight, is www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Pepper, shut up.
Who's Pepper? Who's Pepper? Who's Pepper?
One of our dogs. Sorry about that. I thought I had the mute on. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all right. Well, we're going to have some fun tonight here. Our X-Zone Nation and my guest is Charlotte Sanchez Kosa of Sacramento, California, whose dog's name is Pepper. And
yes.
Charlotte's been a paranormal investigator for more than 15 years. She has owned her own team, the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, for 12 of those years. Now, Charlotte, by trade, is a journalist, photojournalist who freelances for several publications in Northern California. She is an award-winning newspaper editor and writer who has held positions of city editor, reporter, page editor, and designer. She also was the editor of the Susie-san City Patch, an online publication. She now edits and publishes her own online newspaper. Her interest in the paranormal stems from growing up in a haunted house. Was Pepper there with you, too?
Some of the time, yeah.
All right, so Pepper likes ghosts, too. And, she spent time watching TV shows like In Search of or Unsolved Mysteries. And she's always been looking for answers. Now, she began her paranormal investigations career while filming another local team of public access TV show called California Adventures. That show later became California Haunts. This was the show before any ghost-dedicated TV shows were on any of the mainstream TV channels. Joining me now to talk about her haunting experiences and her dog Pepper is Charlotte Sanchez Kosa. And Charlotte, welcome to the X-Zone.
Great. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a great pleasure. So tell me, what was the very first recollection that you can recall about something in the paranormal that happened to you?
Oh, okay. Like you said, I grew up in a haunted house, and I can remember from a very, very young age seeing things and hearing things in my house. I actually saw a full body apparition.
How old were you?
I must have been about 9 or 10 years old, and I was home alone because a latchkey kid, and I was home alone and I was making my lunch when I came home, and I happened to look up and I saw this thing fly from one wall to the other. What
did it look like?
To me, it looked like a typical ghost. It had a head. It had a head on it. I couldn't see a face, but it had like a white flowing robe on it as well. But it didn't touch the ground. It just flew from one thing to the other.
How did you feel at that young and tender age seeing this alone in the house?
I was scared to death. For the longest time, I wouldn't walk near that area. I would always avoid it. I would always go the other way through the other doorway. So it freaked me out.
Did you ever find out who that ghost was?
No. We found out that years and years ago, before my mom and dad purchased the house, that there were nuns living in here. And that's about all I know about the history of the house. So it could have been one of the nuns. I don't know.
So, in your opinion, what are ghosts?
In my opinion, ghosts are spirits that ghosts are stuck here.
Mm-hmm.
There's two types of things. There's ghosts and spirits. Ghosts are stuck here. They haven't crossed over into light. So generally they've got something going on, or they just don't realize they're dead. So they're stuck here, and they're just trying to deal with being here before they cross over. Spirit, on the other hand, has already crossed over, so they can come back and forth. Those are like your family members.
I see.
That are able to come back and forth and visit you. But a ghost in general just can't, for some reason or another, can't leave.
You and I have to take a short break here. Please stand by.
Okay.
Great talking to you. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Charlotte Sanchez Kosa and her dog. And all three of us will be back on the other side of this commercial break, and give Pepper a nice little pat on the head. And we'll be back as we continue talking to Charlotte about ghosts in and around Sacramento, California, and throughout the state of California as the X-Zone continues right here from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the Talkstar Radio Network, and also throughout Europe on Radio X, and coming soon to the Mutual Broadcast Network. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. My very special guest this hour is Charlotte Kosa, and we're talking about ghosts in California and the work that Charlotte has done over the years. She is the lady behind the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, and she has been the sole driving force, along with her dog Pepper, for the last 12 years. What's your website, hon?
It's www.californiahaunts.org.
Well, there you go. Now, okay, so you were a little girl, you saw this ghost fly from one side of the room to the next, you were home alone, it scared the heck out of you, and yet you decided to pursue a career chasing these phantoms. How come?
Well, I think it's like with anybody else, you have an interest for it because you want to try and figure out what's going on. And as things progressed over the years of growing up in this particular house, a lot of other stuff happened. We would have bar stools that would twist on their own during, in the late evening hours. The TVs would come on and off by themselves, things like that going on in the house. So it was a matter of, trying to find out what was going on and get more information about it.
How many investigations have you and the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team so far completed?
About 200.
Wow. In your opinion, what has been the most frightening paranormal investigation that you've been on?
We did an investigation at this residence out in, Yolo County, and it was a woman in her home, and she had thought that she had a demon involved with her, and we went out there, and we were seeing shadows on the walls. Investigators were smelling vomit. We had objects thrown around the house, and this thing was just generally a nuisance. I mean, it was knocking down all the equipment, stuff was flying around, so that was probably the scariest one I've ever done.
Now, how do you proceed with an investigation? Let's say I was to call you up and say, hey, Charlotte, strange things are happening in my house. Can you and your team come down and check it out for me? How would you proceed?
Well, normally I would do an interview over the phone, and from there we would set up the appointment for a team of 3 to go out there. And what we would do is that would be the first step would be our preliminary investigation. We have an initial meeting with the clients where we ask about 100 questions that range from what do you do for a living to clarifying what they experienced to if they're experiencing any relationship problems or diet changes. We also ask them if they will see a counselor if we feel there might be a mental issue going on.
Right.
While I ask the questions, another investigator walks through the home looking for high electric electromagnetic fields. They also look for any damaged windows or doors that could cause drafts or open on their own. And they also look at how thin the walls are in the home, and take notes of the position of mirrors and other stuff in the home. Once that's done, we set up a date for the investigation. Once I get that information home, I do research on the property and put together an investigation synopsis that includes the home history, where any of the high EMF levels are in the house. I also list any information that pertains to possible sources or of drafts or anything that could affect the investigation. I then email a picture of the front of the home to one of our remote psychics, who does a cold reading on the home. She will give me an idea of where there may be activity in the home and where to look. Okay? On investigation day, all team members receive the synopsis, except for the psychic that goes out. This helps them rule out any normal EMF levels in the home and other stuff, and other related stuff. When they are investigating, if they run into an EMF spike that's not listed, then they know to investigate it further. The same goes for drafts. The list also gives them the opportunity to try to debunk claims made by the clients.
What kind of claims?
For example, if someone hears what sounds like walking on the roof. Well, like something like, for example, if someone hears what sounds like someone walking on the roof, the investigator will see if any tree branches are close enough to the roof to hit it when there's a breeze. So people say they have knocking sounds in their walls, they could have rats. So we check into that as well.
So what you do is you rule out the obvious. And how often are the obvious the cause of all so-called paranormal activity?
In about 70% of our cases.
Wow. How do the the people who call you in feel when you and your team are able to show them beyond a shadow of a doubt that what they have been experiencing is not paranormal at all?
They're relieved, because for a lot of them it's scary. They see this stuff on TV, and a lot of this stuff on TV is built up because it's TV. And, so a lot of people, when we go out right away, when something starts scratching the roof or the wall, they think it's paranormal right away because they see this stuff on TV. So when we're able to come out and show them that there's a natural explanation for it, they're really relieved and thankful.
All right, but what about the other 30%? How do you go about either identifying the paranormal activity or suppressing it or getting rid of it? How do you do that?
Okay, so once we arrive at the investigation scene, I'll set up a command center where I'll monitor the whole investigation from. I've got a folding table, a 32-inch monitor, DVR, a tablet, and a mini PC with me. The command center is either on the garage or outside in front of the house, so that I don't interfere with the investigation. Okay? The investigators arrive and do a walkthrough with the psychic for the evening. Our investigators also goes around with a camera, takes what we call control pictures into the home. This is done so that the investigator reports that a door or drawer opens. We can check the pictures to make sure it was open or closed during the initial walkthrough. Once that's done, the psychic will meet with me and discuss her findings. She will make suggestions as to camera placement based on where she feels the active areas in the house are. The team then starts running anywhere from 1 to 9 cameras throughout the home. They then mount the digital voice recorders on walls with carpet tape or on dressers within focal range of the cameras. The recorders are then turned on. Once all that's done, the video lines are set up, the cameras are set up. They do a baseline EMF sweep to get the readings, and then to ensure that they don't get excited if suddenly there's a high reading near a camera or whatever is there. It's not the synopsis. Once all that's done, the team leader who's in charge for that night will choose the equipment for the night, pass it out, and each team will have an EMF meter, a digital camera, digital voice recorder, thermometer, or whatever else they feel they need. And then the DVR is turned on, lights are turned off, the investigation proceeds, and they go ahead and do their tests with their equipment. They do their EVP sessions, where they try to communicate via the digital recorders and that sort of thing.
How long does if I can call an investigation normal, how long does an investigation normally take?
It takes us anywhere from 3 to 8 hours to do an investigation, depending on the size of the place that we're dealing with.
During your time doing these investigations, what has been the most significant amount of paranormal activity that you and your team have witnessed?
We were at an old hotel on the Delta, the Ride Hotel actually, and the Lodi News Sentinel, a newspaper, was with us. And honest to glory, we had people upstairs that were being thrown against walls. I had equipment that was malfunctioning the whole time. My DVR, which never shuts down, was being turned on and off by itself. Cameras were being turned on and off. The digital recorders were having these buzzing sounds in them that we couldn't explain. All kinds of stuff going on.
People being thrown against the walls. Is that normal in a paranormal haunting investigation where your investigators are actually tossed around?
Actually, it's not. In fact, compared to what you see on TV, it's pretty boring. I mean, we spend hours and hours sitting in buildings in the dark and nothing happens. I mean, one night we sat and watched a woman sleep for 10 hours, and nothing happened. So a lot of investigations are like that. And then, then it's a matter of gathering all that evidence, and then you've got hours and hours of evidence to review. So very rarely do you get stuff where you're getting thrown against walls. I mean, there's a lot of teams that'll tell you they do, but to be honest, it's a very rare occurrence.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Charlotte Kosa, and Charlotte is the lady behind the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, and she's been doing that for 12 years. Did you ever think that you would still be involved in paranormal investigations after 12 years?
I didn't. I had no idea what was going to happen. When I started out, I mean, Ghost Hunters wasn't even on TV yet. And it was just shows like In Search Of, and Unsolved Mysteries, those kind of shows. And at that point, there were very few paranormal investigators. And so when I started out doing this, it was just as a hobby at first, because like I said, I was curious,
sure,
because of what happened to me when I was growing up. And then it just blossomed from there, and I got really into it. It's kind of like taking crack, if I want to say it that way, because it's addictive. Because you want to learn more and more, and then you end up spending more and more on equipment because you want to learn more and more. But for us, it's a matter of getting to the point now where we've done a lot of commercial jobs, but we really want to help people understand what's going on with this also.
So what has been the biggest lesson that you have learned over the past 12 years?
To go in with an open mind. I mean, there's a lot of groups that go in. You either have these groups that believe there's ghosts in the house, or you have the scientific type groups that want to debunk everything all the time. Our group is a combination of both, so that kind of helps, keep a balance. Like I said, we have psychics on our team that help us. Not only do we have psychics on our team, we've got counselors, we've got marriage counselors, we've got psychiatrists on our team, former police officers. So we have a very well-rounded team, and we're able to keep an open mind when we go in.
Interesting. What kind of counseling would your counselors give to people who have been involved in a paranormal encounter? Again,
that goes back to our 100-question questionnaire, because we ask them about any drug use, any marital problems, anything like that, and then we take it from there. And if the counselors, they'll talk with them, they'll refer them to, other things. Because sometimes, if they're taking narcotics, that could result in quote-unquote paranormal activity, because the hallucinations or it increases the possibility that, you're paranoid, or every noise, you jump at that you're thinking is paranormal activity. So it just depends on what's going on, what the dynamics are.
So it could be a lot of different components making up this paranormal experience that may or may not be actually a paranormal experience.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of these newer groups that are coming out don't realize, and that they have this huge responsibility in that you're not just going out for the fun of it to investigate somebody's house. You have to be really careful because you're dealing with somebody's mental state and their lives when you're going out.
All right, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation Charlotte Kosa is our special guest this hour. She is the founder of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, and their website is californiahaunts.org. That's www.californiahaunts.org, and we'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Charlotte Sanchez Kosa is our special guest. She's in Sacramento, California. And this young lady has been in charge of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team for 12 years. The website, www.californiahaunts.org. You know, before we went to the news break, we were talking about how you people handle an investigation, and you've got a very well-rounded team, and congratulations on the team that you have, and how your team even has a counselor, because you realize, being the professional that you are, that you're dealing with people, and that whatever happens could have a profound effect on them. And yet there are so many organizations that are coming out now who are treating paranormal research as if it's a hobby, or if it's just a fun thing to do, a way to spend an afternoon or an evening. What's your take on those?
A lot of that, again, and I have this thing about the TV shows, and a lot of that comes from the TV shows because people see it being so easy, where the TV shows will do a case and will do a night case, have their stuff done in 2-3 days.
Yeah.
It's not like that. I mean, it's a lot of time to go out, and it depends where you go. I mean, if you're out to do it just for fun and say go to a hotel, and do that stuff, it's all fine, because that's fun. But if you're going to do if you're going to go to somebody's residence and you're going to do stuff for them, it's a whole different ballgame. Like I said, when I first started doing this, there were no ghost hunters on TV, and people thought that ghost hunters were oddballs back then. Now people think it's all cool, but TV has created an atmosphere where people think we come into the home and investigate, then we're back with a day or two to finish it off. A lot of them also think that all paranormal activity is demonic, or dark, but that's not true. A lot of the cases that we do that are deemed true paranormal turn out to be a, relative or who's looking over the family. But TV, needs ratings, and as the shows tend to concentrate on the bad cases, well, when we go on an investigation, it's a long process. If you take a week or two, it could take a week or 2 months to even get back before we have answers. Some even take longer. It's tons and tons of evidence. It's a lot of work, and like you say, a lot of it, it's just not walking. It's just not walking into a house and slam it through. I've heard things where teams have had parties in the middle of investigations, and who the heck does that?
Yeah, I agree with you that the television version of what professional ghost investigators or paranormal investigators do are totally different. Because don't forget, when you're looking at a TV show, and this having worked in the industry, you have to edit down 3-4 days worth of digital files down to 22 minutes. And you've got to, so people look at that and they figure, wow, 22 minutes, zip, zap, zowie, swoosh, and it's over. But there's a lot of waiting, and like you said earlier, there are times when nothing happens, and you watched a lady sleep for 10 hours.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like that all the time. And then what people don't realize is once you get back, if you're going to run 9 video cameras for 6 hours, you're going to have to look at each individual camera for 6 hours.
So you're talking about 54 hours of viewing. Yep. And then and then I'm sure that you take the digital audio recorders and put them backwards to try and listen to any EVPs.
Yeah, so you're going to go through all that audio. And remember, the way we do it is we put an audio recorder in each room when the investigation starts. So now we've got 9 hours of recordings on each audio recorder in each room, plus whatever recorder the investigators take in with them to do their sessions.
So there's a minimum of 104 hours of editing or going over digital audio or digital video. And that's time-consuming.
Yes, it's very time-consuming.
Wow.
And then again, we've all got jobs. Everybody's got a normal job, so it's kind of hard. We do this stuff, where it's all volunteer. We do it at nights on the weekends and stuff, and, we turn it around as fast as we can. But a lot goes into it, a lot. A lot of stuff goes in.
Why do you think so many hotels have unwanted guests from the world of the paranormal hanging around the hotels?
Because they enjoyed themselves there. I mean, I've done a lot. We've done a lot of investigating of older hotels in what we call our gold country up here. Where they've been built in the late 1800s, and a lot of these people just don't want to leave. A lot of them are, in fact, a lot of the ghosts are seen playing poker, and having a few drinks. So I mean, a lot of them just don't want to leave. They're having a good old time, and that's where they're going to stay. Or you get the ones that are stuck there, like we talked about, the ghosts that are stuck.
Right.
This one particular hotel has a room where there's a woman in there, and she's still waiting for a lover to come back. from the mines, and somewhere along the line he never came back. So she stood there all those years waiting for him to come back, and she's still there. So it just depends on what the situation is. But the majority of them are glad to be there. They want to be there. They want to play poker. They still want to party.
Something that I have never understood, and maybe you could shed some light on this. How can a ghost not know they're dead?
Confusion. I mean, sometimes, for instance, if somebody dies, bleeds to death, for instance, and you just fall asleep and you don't wake up, you're not going to know. You're just going to wake up in that after state. Then you're stuck on this side of the tunnel, and you never go through the tunnel. So you're lost, and you just don't know. You just don't realize it.
But if let's say somebody died, let's say even 3 years ago, okay?
Okay.
And for the last 3 years, they've been wandering around. Nobody's paying any attention to them. They're not able to eat. Their family is very sad because they're not around anymore. I don't understand how the spirit or the ghost cannot know they're dead.
You know what? I don't know either, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That's why we have psychics on the team to explain this stuff. But I mean, I just think it's confusion. And a lot of the time when you have these, some of these, the movement of objects and whatnot, in a building, that's why they're trying to get the attention that they want to get, because they don't understand what's wrong either. A lot of them are confused.
Do you or any members of your team try to help the spirits or the ghosts to cross over, go towards the light, so that they can leave this ghostly existence that they have here in this dimension on this plane and go on to the next?
Yes, we do. We have several psychics on our team that help us with that sort of thing. We have a shaman available to do cleansings. And she also does. We also have someone that can perform exorcism on properties. If people want them, it just depends on what the client wants. I mean, if it's Uncle Bob and they're enjoying his company, and they want him there, then whatever. But if it's someone that they don't want there, then we do our very best to try and move that individual off.
Is it possible that if somebody goes to a yard sale or an antique sale, that they can actually bring something into their house that's attached to a piece of furniture that once belonged to somebody else?
Oh yeah, absolutely possible. It's like anything else. Like the old hotels. Like there's a lot of stories about when you go in and re-wallpaper an old hotel, and that's when the activity starts, because whoever's there, whatever ghost is there, doesn't like you changing the stuff.
Oh, I see.
On the walls. So it's the same thing with any kind of piece of furniture or property. That it's there might be a jewelry box that they loved when they were alive, and they want to be near that jewelry box. And yeah, you can bring stuff home all the time. We're doing stuff like that.
Wow. If you could give a list of 5 tips for a beginning paranormal researcher, what would that list be?
You know what? The first one is keep an open mind. It's really important to keep an open mind when you go out. Don't just think someplace is haunted because people are saying it's haunted. It's just not the way to be. The second thing is always be aware of what's happening around you. When you're out, it's dark. You got to be aware of everything, especially if you're going to be an investigator. You want to know every sound that house makes or every sound that building makes, because you're going to have to note it on your tape. Somebody's stomach growling could actually sound like someone talking on a recording. So you got to be really careful about that. You got to work in pairs. Again, that's safety. And then again, if something happens, if you get pinched or you get scratched or get pushed, there's somebody there to witness it. You got to have a witness. I mean, if you're going to come out and say this happened to me, or if one of my team members comes out and says, well, I just got touched, and there's no one to help him back it up, it doesn't make it as credible.
Looks a little suspicious, yeah.
Yeah. The fourth is don't trespass. Make sure you have permission to be on a property. Just don't go waltzing anywhere. There's a lot of cases going around now where people have been arrested because they've gone in to investigate. Always have permission to go wherever you're at. And be sure to stake out the location ahead of time during daylight hours. You want to know what the terrain's like. You want to know what the building's like, because if you're running around in the dark, you want to know where the chairs are and anything that you could possibly fall over are.
That brings up a good question. Why only do ghost or paranormal investigations at night?
It's exciting.
That's it?
That's all there is. Yeah, because I've talked to a lot of psychics and a lot of investigations. We've done investigations during the day where it's just as active as it is at night.
So why would you do it at night? Just for the extra thrill?
Yeah, for the thrill, and because if there's going to be an apparition, you have better chances of seeing it in the dark.
But how? Because an apparition it usually doesn't have a light source. So how do you see it?
Some of them have, some have been seen. I'm not saying all of them, but some have been seen to have like an inner light source where they glow at night, or the shadow people that show up against against a bright light, in the hallway.
All right, but wouldn't the shadow people be easier
so sometimes you do come across those, but
wouldn't the shadow people be easier to see during the daytime?
Probably. I've never seen one during the daytime myself, but
have you been
there's a possibility of that.
But have you been looking for one in the daytime?
I have not. I usually see them at night. I had one crossing. I was on my way to an investigation up in the foothills, and I had one cross in front of my headlights of my car one night.
Wow.
And he walked right across. And he was so dark, he even blocked out the light of the headlights.
Wow. That is strange. Speaking about headlights, are there any ghost cars in your part of California?
No, not in this area at all. I wish there were. It'd be kind of cool to try and search it out, but no.
How about ghost lights?
Pardon? How about?
Ghost lights.
Ghost lights? There are some up in the foothills. We did a case up in Camino at this house where they were right on the edge of the canyon, and they would have some floating lights that were out there on a regular basis.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And I'm sure that you've come across this word during your investigations. What about these orbs that people keep taking photos of?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of orbs. I think the majority of them are dust or bugs. We do have some on our website, and it's because they're unique, in the way they were presented. We do have a couple. We have some green and red ones on there, but there's a story tied into those. But on the other hand, a lot of orbs that people run into are dust, bugs, pollen, and natural stuff like that. I can go into a house when somebody's seeing orbs, and they'll tell me their house is clean, and all I have to do is walk into the bedroom and stomp all over the carpet, and all of a sudden you got 1,000 orbs rising off the floor.
And then you go to your car and you get out the Electrolux vacuum cleaner that you also sold.
Suck it all up. Yeah.
How do you convince skeptics that what you're doing is legitimate and there are such things as ghosts?
I don't think the skeptics are ever going to be convinced. I really don't. Until it happens to them, and even if it happens to them, they're still going to look at it, logically and try to debunk it. I mean, there's just no way to do that with skeptics. It's just that that comes from not being open-minded. The idea is to be open-minded, and the skeptic isn't open-minded because they're going in to debunk whatever you get. I mean, I could turn around and look at another team's work, and they, and it might be legit, and I could turn around and cut it to ribbons too, and play the skeptic. So I don't think there's a way to convince the skeptics. I really don't.
During your investigation, you go into a house with your team. Like I said, you've got a very well-rounded team. You've done a great job of bringing your group together. At any time, do you bring members of the clergy into the fold?
If it's bad enough, yes. We have someone on staff that has connections with the clergy. That if the situation is bad enough, that they will do that. Yes.
There are a lot of how would I call it? There's a lot of charlatans on the internet. There's one guy who sells an exorcist kit for $65. You get a little placard, you put it on the dash of your car, exorcism in progress. That's another $5. You buy a certificate, that's another $10. You want to become a doctor of divinity, that's another $75. So how does the listener, or how does the person who is having what they consider to be a paranormal event happening in their home, they are frightened. How do they know who to contact and who is legitimate and who is just a wannabe?
What you're going to want to do is get references from whatever ghost team you contact initially. You're going to want to get references, and believe me, anybody that's done half a good job is going to have 4 or 5 references. We provide references when we go out. Anybody that has psychic abilities, and like you say, the so-called charlatans, that do the exorcisms and whatnot, anybody that's legitimate is not going to charge. That's one of the big things.
You mean there's actually groups that...
anybody that comes into your house and says that you have a ghost... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You mean there's actually groups out there that charge for this?
There's actually people out there that charge to go in and cleanse your house, yeah.
Wow. And how much would they charge?
Anywhere from $100 to $300 or $400.
My good God. Wow. And I would imagine that because of the way that you and the other members of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team operate, and I have no doubt that you have the highest of of ethics and professionalism. This must drive you guys crazy.
It does, because with our team, I have 5 psychics on staff. Plus, I have a woman that helps us with the real heavier duty cases. We do it for free, and we will go out. If we go out do a case, and let's say it doesn't resolve itself quite like the client wanted or quite like we expected, we will go back. We have no problem with going back and helping them until the case is resolved. But and we do it all for free. We're not going to charge. It's not fair. I can't charge you for something that we can't prove. I mean, it's all fine and dandy to say your house is haunted, but really, I mean, how can we literally prove it? I mean, it's an inexact science.
What I love about what you do, and having had the pleasure of talking to you this last nearly an hour and going through your website, is that you do this with passion. You want to help people. You're not in it for glory. You're not in it to get media recognition. You're in it to help people. So my hat is off to you and the other members of your team.
Oh yeah, we don't. That's what we do. That's our main thing. Is we want to take what we've known. We've got 15 years experience doing this. It's taken us a long time to get to this point with the questionnaires that we have. And the way we do things, and that's because we, like any other team, we've had our issues, but we've got it together, and that's what we want to do. We want to take this experience that we have, and we want to help people as much as we can. We want to help them understand the paranormal. We want to help them understand what's going on. Whether it's paranormal or not.
That's nice. People helping people. This is what the world needs more of, and I'm glad that you take that attitude. Listen, now, I've got to take a break in about 30 seconds, but I have to ask you this question. Do you take Pepper with you?
Sometimes we'll take the dogs out on site and let them take a look around and see what they find. They can see things that we don't see.
True. You and I will be back on the other side of this break. Charlotte, please stand by. Exonation Charlotte Sanchez Kosa is our special guest. She's located in Sacramento, California. Now, if you'd like to contact Charlotte or visit her website, www.californiahaunts.org. That's californiahaunts.org. And Charlotte and I will be back on the other side, hopefully with Pepper, as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Charlotte Sanchez Kosa. She is the founding member of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. Their website is californiahaunts.org. First of all, Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on the great work that you and the other members of your team do. Please send them my best.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's great being on.
You and I were talking briefly during the break about, you and I have been kidding around about our dogs and, Pepper. And I asked you if you took Pepper on investigations. And I was asking you for a reason, because I know, being a dog owner, that they sometimes look at something that isn't there. And they seem to sense certain things that we humans can't. Do you find that bringing an animal sometimes, like a dog, to an investigation is an asset to your investigators?
Oh, absolutely. Again, the countless times where even before we go on an investigation, clients tell us that their animals are staring at a certain point, or they're barking at a certain point in the air in the house. So it really helps to bring an animal in, because you never know. It could be either a ghost or it could be a ghost animal in the house. That they trigger on. So it's really nice. There was
a house in Niagara Falls near the Drummond Cemetery. That's just off of Lundy's Lane, and this gentleman called. And he was telling us about, this is while I was doing the show at 610 CKTB in St. Catharines, and he was telling us about his dog looking at a certain part of the wall all the time and growling. So so what happened was, he was about to do some renovations. And as he did the renovations, he found in the wall, it was a very old house, an old army uniform. Somehow, his dog knew that there was something behind that wall, and, it was just amazing. What are your final words for the members of the X Zone Nation around the world tonight, dear?
You know what? I thank you for having me on and stuff.
It's a
And
pleasure.
you guys, if you do have any kind of paranormal activity in your house, and you're afraid of it, afraid of what's going on, check into having a group come out. Don't be afraid to, but just check references on the team. Whoever comes out, make sure they're a reputable team. Make sure they've been around for a while before you let them into your house.
How do you and your team protect yourselves from any negativity that may be present in a house?
We sage ourselves before we go in. We sage ourselves after we leave, to make sure that nothing follows us home. We also use certain oils on us to make sure that nothing comes home with us.
Right.
Sometimes we'll spray the premises down with less salt water, to make sure that whatever is the house stays in the house, stuff like that. Or we'll wear religious icons around our neck, maybe medicine bags,
Wow.
whatever happens to make us feel better when we go in.
Well, once again, my great thanks to you for taking time out of your day to join us tonight here on the X Zone. And like I said, I would love to have you back on. And do me a favor, if there's anything that really strange, bizarre, weird happens, and you need to get on the air, you give me a call. You've got my contact information, and we'll get you on as soon as we can.
I will do that.
All right, you take care of yourself.
I will do that.
Now listen,
Thank you.
give our listeners your website one more time.
www.californiahaunts.org.
It's that simple, X Zone Nation. www.californiahaunts.org. And my guest this hour has been Charlotte Sanchez Kosa. She was joining us via Skype from Sacramento, California. And she is the founding team member and owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. And their website, one more time, californiahaunts.org. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. You can always visit us online at www.xzoneradiotv.com. Send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And you can always listen to the X Zone 724-365 at, you've got the address, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'm Rob McConnell. Back on the other side of the news. Don't go away.